What if the royal children weren't really hers? No, really. What if the most closely guarded secret in the modern royal saga wasn't Meghan's feud with the palace, her exit from the firm, or even the Netflix millions, but the birth of her own children? Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. What if someone close to Meghan, someone who was there, who smiled in the background, who posted birthday tributes and hugged at charity galas, accidentally said too much? This isn't just another royal rumor. This isn't about tabloid chatter. This is about a friend, a trusted ally, Kelly McKee Zajfen, who may have cracked open a mystery Meghan never wanted questioned. One slip, one sentence, and suddenly, everything about Archie and Lilibet's origins seems off. Think about it. For a family that documented nearly every public appearance, posed for Vogue-worthy shots, and crafted branded messaging around their entire brand, why was the birth of their children wrapped in shadows? Where were the hospital photos? Why did no one see the baby bumps up close? And why does Kelly's comment sound more like a stranger recounting a press release than a friend celebrating a miracle? Let's zoom out. Kelly McKee Zajfen isn't just a celebrity acquaintance. She co-founded a children's charity Meghan publicly aligned herself with. The Archwell Foundation once even highlighted their collaboration. They were friends, trusted, publicly connected. So when Kelly told a story about Meghan's motherhood journey, it should have sounded warm, detailed, personal. But it didn't. It sounded scripted, cold, rehearsed. No mention of holding Archie. No jokes about Lilibet's first giggle. No vivid moments only a real friend would remember. Just vague phrases, sterile compliments, and, most chilling of all, what sounded like total detachment from the children themselves. Was it just awkward wording? Or was it something deeper? And here's where it gets chilling. Because shortly after Kelly's remarks made their quiet rounds online, eagle-eyed sleuths started putting the puzzle together. Timelines, language, hidden gaps in the story that had never been questioned until now. Why would someone so close sound so distant? Why do the friends who speak about Meghan the most barely speak about her kids? And why did one of the few times someone mentioned them directly, it sparked a storm of speculation? If you're thinking this sounds wild, good. That means you're still thinking. But don't look away yet. Because what Kelly McKee Zajfen said next, the phrasing she used, the haunting absence of warmth, it was just the beginning. Because one phrase she uttered, perhaps without thinking, triggered a reaction so explosive, so damning, that many are still asking, what baby was she even talking about? And that's the question that changes everything. Because if Meghan's closest friend couldn't speak about her children with love or memory, then what if those children were never really there to begin with? What comes next might just blow everything wide open. Two words changed everything. What baby? Not, congratulations on Archie. Not, I remember when Lilibet took her first steps. Not even, she was glowing during her pregnancy. No. What Kelly McKee Zajfen allegedly said, casually, without warning, without drama, was something that didn't sound like a close friend talking about a child. It sounded like a stranger trying not to say too much. But let's rewind. Kelly is no outsider to Meghan's world. She's not a journalist fishing for gossip. She's not a bitter ex-friend looking to spill tea for clicks. She's a celebrated activist, a grieving mother, a woman who co-founded an organization Meghan publicly supports. They've posted photos together, hugged, advocated for causes. They've been seen as allies. So, why, when Kelly spoke about Meghan's life as a mother, did it feel so empty? Picture this, an interview, light conversation, a question tossed in about Meghan's motherhood journey. Nothing controversial, just a soft prompt. And yet, the response? Vague, mechanical, distant. She's such a devoted woman, Kelly said. She's doing what's best for the children. The children, not Archie, not Lilibet, not her kids. Or, I remember holding them. Not, when she was pregnant, she craved chocolate. Or, she was scared before giving birth. Just, the children. Doesn't that strike you as odd? If one of your closest friends had children, wouldn't you have something personal to say? A real memory? A laugh? A tear? A moment? But Kelly offered none of that. Instead, her response felt like a press release. Polished, distant, safe, almost like it was rehearsed. Which raised a dangerous question. Was she trying not to reveal something? Let's be real. Friends talk. even when they try not to. And the way Kelly spoke, it was as if she was tiptoeing around a secret she didn't want to accidentally confirm. That's when people began digging. And what they found were not just missing details, but contradictions. Because while Meghan's public team was carefully managing photos, dates, and carefully worded statements about both pregnancies, Kelly was out here, telling stories that seemed to exist in an entirely different timeline. A timeline where Meghan's pregnancies were never witnessed, only announced. A timeline where the baby wasn't seen, visited, or emotionally discussed. And then came the whisper that started the online firestorm. What baby? Was it a joke? Was it a slip? Or was it a question Kelly herself once asked and still couldn't answer? What came next would spiral far beyond one quote. It would force people to re-examine everything, from hospital records to blurry public appearances, and eventually lead to the most damning inconsistency of all, the calendar. But we'll get there. Because first, there was something else about Kelly's response that gave people chills. She didn't say when Meghan gave birth. She said when the baby arrived. And that one line would lead to a whole new wave of questions. Pregnancies leave trails. Appointments. Ultrasounds. Public appearances. Paparazzi photos. Friends dropping cryptic messages on Instagram. And in the royal world, every bump, every craving, every nursery wallpaper choice, documented. But with Meghan Markle, it was different. Quiet. Controlled. Suspiciously choreographed. And when Kelly McKee Zajfen referred to the moment the baby arrived, instead of when Meghan gave birth, people took notice. That's not a small detail. That's not just semantics. That's the kind of shift in language that hides responsibility, that avoids confirming anything. Ask yourself, have you ever heard a close friend say, the baby arrived, when they were talking about someone who carried the child themselves? No. They say, she gave birth. Or, I remember when she went into labor. But not here. And that's when the timelines came under the microscope. Let's rewind to 2019. The official story was this. Meghan went into labor in the early hours of May 6th. She and Harry were reportedly at Frogmore Cottage. A short time later, the palace announced that Meghan had given birth to a baby boy, Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor. But here's where things get weird. No one saw Meghan enter the hospital. There are no credible witness accounts of her being admitted or discharged. In fact, 4 hours before and after the birth announcement, no one saw her at all. And here's the kicker. Some media outlets quietly retracted claims that Meghan had been taken to Portland Hospital in London. Others speculated she had the baby at home. Then, just days later, it was confirmed that she'd actually delivered at a private hospital, but only after the birth announcement was already out. Confused yet? Because you should be. Now factor in what Kelly said, and more importantly, what she didn't say. She spoke about motherhood in broad strokes. General praise. Support for privacy. Advocacy for children's wellness. But not once did she say anything that proved she had ever held Archie. Not once did she share a memory of Meghan glowing with pregnancy. Not once did she reference being part of the moment. It's as if the experience didn't involve her at all. And that brings us to the heart of it. Isn't it strange that someone so close, so trusted, so public in her support, couldn't describe a single moment involving the children themselves? You might think, okay, maybe she's just being protective, respecting privacy. That would make sense if it weren't for one glaring contradiction. Because while Meghan and Harry claim to have stepped back from royal life to protect their children's privacy, they've also sold docuseries, dropped royal bombshells on talk shows, and partnered with global media brands to tell their story. So which is it? Are the children off limits? Or were they just never part of the plan to begin with? That question started rattling even the most loyal followers. But the real shocker wasn't just in timelines or contradictions. It was in the way Kelly referred to Archie and Lilibet. Because the next time she spoke of them, it wasn't with affection. It was with distance. And the phrase she used would set everything on fire. 2 words. That's all it took to throw gasoline on a flame that had been quietly smoldering beneath the surface of Meghan Markle's carefully managed narrative. What? Baby. Those weren't the words of a critic. Not a royal correspondent. Not a gossip columnist sniffing for scandal. They were allegedly said by Kelly McKee Zajfen, Meghan's friend, ally, fellow philanthropist. The woman who co-founded the charity Meghan publicly endorsed, supported, and embraced. Now, The phrase didn't come with a dramatic gasp. It wasn't shouted in a tell-all interview. It wasn't even part of a public speech. It was dropped mid-conversation, almost like a passing remark, almost as if Kelly herself wasn't aware of the weight behind what she'd said. But the internet heard it, and they didn't forget. What baby? Not how's the baby? Not I saw the baby. Not even Meghan's baby. It was phrased like a question, a gap, a missing piece of memory. And that's when everything exploded. Because when someone so close to Meghan says something that makes it sound like she's never even seen Archie or Lilibet, it sends a wave of doubt that's impossible to ignore. People began asking the hard questions. Had Kelly ever posted a photo with the children? Had she ever shared a moment with them, at birthdays, charity events, family visits? Where were the stories? The funny quotes? The loving tributes? Silence. Instead, Kelly's posts were often generic. They celebrated Meghan as a woman, as a mother, but never through real memories. Never through first-hand moments. It was like the kids weren't there, or never had been. The phrase, "what baby," became a rallying cry. TikTok picked it up. Reddit exploded with threads. YouTubers started dissecting every interview, every Instagram caption, every facial expression. Because suddenly, it wasn't about what Kelly had said. It was about what everyone else hadn't. Where were the photos of Meghan's baby shower? Where were the candid moments of her holding a newborn? Where were the visitors, the congratulatory hospital shots, the friend selfies, the post-birth chaos every new parent goes through? Instead, we got silence. Clean PR statements. Carefully filtered images. Shadows. And now this little phrase, "what baby," became a spotlight. Not on Kelly, but on Meghan. Because either Kelly had no personal connection to those children, or she accidentally revealed something she wasn't supposed to. And if she wasn't supposed to, then what else are they hiding? But what came next wasn't speculation. It wasn't a phrase. It was a pattern, a trail of inconsistencies, gaps, missing people, and one massive, unanswered question that Meghan and Harry have never directly addressed. Not even once. And it's this final revelation that would take everything we thought we knew about the Sussex children and turn it inside out. What if the story of Archie and Lilibet wasn't what we were told? What if the most powerful clue wasn't something someone did say, but everything they didn't? For years, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry have dominated headlines, platforms, and press circuits with their version of the truth. A narrative carefully polished, painfully rehearsed, massively monetized. But in all those interviews, Netflix docuseries, and heartfelt podcast moments, how much have we actually heard about the births of their children? Real details, real emotion, real moments. And why, when Kelly McKee Zajfen, a close friend, had the chance to speak on the most natural, joyful part of Meghan's life, she didn't. Instead, she said things like, "the baby arrived, and she's doing what's best for the children." Children she never described, never held, publicly, never spoke of with lived memory. And that one phrase, "what baby," became more than a quote. It became a crack in the royal fairy tale. Because it's not just Kelly's odd phrasing. It's the carefully curated silences from everyone around Meghan. It's the public figures who thank her as a mother, but never reference her kids by name. It's the baby bump photos that sparked controversy. It's the sudden, hush-hush birth announcements. The lack of verifiable hospital footage. The disappearing act before and after delivery. These aren't just coincidences. They're patterns. And in media, patterns matter. Because truth, no matter how deeply buried, has a way of leaking through the cracks. Not in bold statements, but in soft, forgettable ones. The kind of phrases people don't think will matter. Until they do. And now, we're left with this uncomfortable truth. If the people closest to Meghan seem unsure how to talk about her children, how sure are we that we ever really knew the full story? It's not about hating. It's not about conspiracies. It's not about dragging anyone down. It's about asking the questions no one else will ask. And you, watching this, are one of the few willing to question what's been fed to us. Because at the end of the day, transparency shouldn't be terrifying. If there's nothing to hide, then why are there so many gaps? Why do we keep getting versions of a story that never quite line up? Why does it feel like the children are characters in the Sussex saga, but never present? And maybe, just maybe, that's because they were never meant to be. So what happens next? That's up to you. Go back. Watch the interviews. Reread the statements. Look at the dates. Listen to how Meghan's friends describe her children, or more importantly, how they don't. Because the truth may not be hidden in vaults, encrypted files, or leaked documents. It may have already been said, casually, carelessly, by someone who didn't realize they'd just shattered the illusion. So I leave you with this. What baby? And if you're brave enough to keep asking that question, you may not like the answer you find, but you will find something. And once you do, nothing about this story will ever feel the same again. Hit that like button, share this video, and if you've ever noticed something strange in the Sussex timeline, drop it in the comments. We're listening, because this mystery, it's only just beginning.